Welcome to the Care Right podcast, your go-to resource for all things elder care. Guiding us through this journey is Krier, the founder of Care Right Incorporated, and she has been steadfastly supporting families across the United States. Each episode brings you expert insights, innovative strategies, and practical advice, ensuring that you're well equipped to provide the best possible care for your loved ones. Expect to gain valuable knowledge, learn from real-life stories, and get inspired to take action in your own caregiving journey. So buckle up as we dive into an in-depth discussion of elder care planning and together embrace the journey of caring for aging loved ones on the Care Right podcast.
Hi everyone, it's Krier, owner of Care Right Incorporated. Thank you for joining our Family Caregiver podcast today. I am excited to be interviewing Deb Krier. She has a very interesting and heartfelt story to share with you about her journey with cancer. So without further ado, Deb, take it from here. Tell your story, and then we'll go over some of the things that you want to make sure that the listeners can hone in on. So
perfect. Thank you.
Floor is yours. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much first for having me be on your podcast. It is truly a delight and an honor. And so we're going to have so much fun. So, as Annalie mentioned, I have cancer. I was diagnosed back in 2015 with stage 4 breast cancer, triple positive. So all of the icks that you don't want, I got. And so I'm actually still in treatment, even though it was 2015. Was diagnosed last month with thyroid cancer, which, thank heavens, everything is going to be okay with that. But I'm kind of the perpetual patient. So, I'm on that side of always needing caregiving. And so one of the things that I like to work with people on is how do we best be that caregiver? Because people either don't know what to do at all, or they overdo, right? And so it's just a very interesting dynamic because we're not sure what to do. And, and so we might just hide, right? When I was first diagnosed, I had people who I thought would be my biggest advocates drop off the face of the earth.
Sure.
Still haven't heard from them. This was 8 years ago. They just couldn't handle it. And I was okay. Well, obviously that friendship had run its course. And then, of course, there were other people who stepped up, who I literally could not have gone through this without them. And it was just absolutely incredible to go through. And as I mentioned, I am this perpetual patient. I trot myself to some doctor or other pretty much every week because of all of the complications and things that I have going on. But it really has hopefully given me a lot of empathy toward those who are the caregivers, because normally I'm in that role. I'm the one who's, chipping in and helping and all of those things. So to actually be the recipient is a little bit different.
Right. Yeah. It's a humbling experience when you're on the receiving end of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for us to say, oh no, we don't need it. Thank you so much. But even when we need something really bad, or to worse, not ask, because we don't want to be a bother. We don't want to be a pest. And so we just don't ask. And so it's kind of this weird little dynamic that we have going on.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I have found myself on the receiving end of care, being the care recipient, and I'm usually in the opposite role.
Right.
I'm the one caregiving, so it's very humbling. It's very humbling, and yeah, you're right. You do find out who your genuine support system really is. So, I think with cancer too, it's one of those diagnoses that people they get very uncomfortable and they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do, and so then they do nothing, and then you're like, whoa, what am I, chocolate? So.
Yeah. Nobody loves me anymore, right? And it's funny. I had people who said we didn't know what to do.
Yep.
And I told them, I said, well, Hallmark has cards. I actually still have all of the cards that people sent to me and the little gifts. I love the little gifts. Little angels, all sorts of little things. I have all of those. And, but in many ways we treat it almost like it was a loss, like they, like true loss of life. And, and really just saying, Annalie, I'm really sorry. What can I do? I
Yeah.
mean, that does wonders as opposed to crickets. Because
Right.
if there are crickets, we do think, oh, they don't love us.
Yeah. What are so we so what are some things not to do?
Right. Well, it's one of the things that many people do is they say, tell us if there's anything you need.
Mm-hmm.
And our little brains, as that patient, are just in total chaos, and so if somebody says, tell me if you need something, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I know they mean well. I really do understand that. But when they're just so generic, I have absolutely no idea even what to ask for.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, be specific.
Yep.
Annalie, can I bring you dinner on Wednesday? And what do you not want to eat?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can say yes or no. You can, all of those various things. Or, can I drive you to an appointment? That's always something that a lot of people need help with. Can I go to one of the best things somebody did for us, they said, can we take your dog to the vet? you
Yep.
know? um, and, just things like that. If they have kids, offer to take the kids somewhere. Can we give you a break and take the kids somewhere? Or even just, can I come and sit with you? I'm going to
Yep.
bring a book. That way you can drift off if you want to, but I'm there if you need something. But the more specific you can be, the better it will be, as
Mm.
opposed to just the generic offer of help.
Right. And I think that like one thing, I mean, I think pretty much anyone, most people have like a caregiver story because there's so
Mhm,
many of us
mhm.
out there. But
Right. Mhm.
but like when my mom and my dad, they had emergency crises. My mom
Mhm.
fell, broke her shoulder,
Oh
that
dear.
progressed to dementia like literally overnight.
Mhm.
She was in the hospital for 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and we had to put her in rehab. And then the night that we were putting my mom
Mhm.
in the rehab unit to get therapy for her
Mhm.
shoulder and walking again,
Mhm.
my dad had a stroke.
Oh
So
no.
two back-to-back crises.
Right.
It was
Mhm.
like, and I'm down here in Florida by myself with
Mhm.
my parents.
Right.
They were just down here visiting, and all
Mhm.
this stuff happened. And so, like, one thing when we talk about be specific, like, one thing is I was in and out of the house for
Mhm.
2 to 4 weeks because I
Right.
had both parents in the
Mhm.
hospital. It was my refrigerator, and of course, I had just got groceries like 2 weeks before.
Mhm.
So, like, things like that, like just
Mhm.
everyday things, like I really
Right.
could have used someone to come out and clean out the
Mhm.
refrigerator
Mhm.
because 2 week
Right.
old milk is not great.
No. No. Mm-mm.
Vegetables,
Mhm.
everything, and just, cleaning up the place and
Mhm.
doing laundry. Cause,
Mhm.
when you're
Right.
a caregiver and there's all that crisis, or if you're, in
Mhm.
treatments for cancer or whatever, you don't have the energy to do the
Mhm.
housework,
Right.
do the laundry
Mhm. Yeah.
and
A friend of mine said that a friend of hers appeared at the door and said, I'm cleaning your house. And she said, I was mortified for about 10 minutes. And then I
yeah,
thought, thank you, God.
I know during this whole kind of crisis fiasco thing with my parents, of course, my smoke alarm in my living room, which is the
Mhm.
highest ceiling, I have like
Right. Mhm.
25 feet high
Mhm.
ceilings, started
Yeah. And
going.
you're like,
And I'm
huh.
just like, "Yeah, I really need just one more thing to like go
Mhm.
sideways, right?"
Right.
And so
Mhm.
one of my neighbors could hear it, and so
Mhm.
he came over with his ladder, but I was so embarrassed because the
Mhm.
house was trashed because
Right.
I
But he
hadn't been.
understood and he didn't care.
They totally understood, but I was like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, just don't look
Mhm.
around. Just
Right. Oh, I
whatever you
know.
do with
Yeah.
the smoke alarm."
Yeah.
So yeah, is
Well, and
so
it's
right.
funny how stuff happens. I mean, we had a water main break,
Of course you
and and I was what happened with me was I had a catastrophic reaction to my very first chemo. Almost killed me. Ended up in the hospital, in and out of ICU, 7 weeks, yada 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 yada.
oh my gosh.
And and my husband looked out and went, there's a lake by the side of our house, but that was about as far as it got. Well, my aunt and uncle had come to stay, and my uncle said, this I can help with. And and so the contractors came and did all of that. So it's you never know what it is where you can help
Mhm.
somebody out. And don't be afraid to ask. It's
Yeah.
even saying things like, can I clean your house for you? Yeah, that's a little bit embarrassing, but it's better than not asking.
Right.
And so, it's just, it really is something, because we're embarrassed. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to ask somebody to come clean my house. Somebody says I want to, I'm like, yep, sure. 2 o'clock. Right.
Yep. And you need those, not forceful, but you need those friends that are like, I'm
Right.
going to come over and clean your house. I'm
Hmm.
going to come over, I'm going to pick
Right.
up your medications from the
Hmm.
pharmacy, who
Hmm.
are just maybe
Right.
like, I'm going to do this. And then
Hmm.
then it takes the guesswork out of it.
Right.
You're like, oh,
Hmm.
just thank you.
Right. Well, and we can say no. I mean, that's the thing. I can say, you know what? Thanks for the offer of going to the pharmacy, but I have everything mail delivered or something like that. But then I might say, could you do this for me instead?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Exactly. So yeah, being specific, I'm just looking through kind of your list of
Hmm.
questions and topics that we wanted to cover. I want to make sure that we cover all of
Hmm.
those too. Um, what specifically, we've got the why is it important to be specific when
Hmm.
offering to help? What are some of the ways that you can offer to help as well?
Really just think of anything that they might need. And some of it are things like, uh, do they just want a bunch of books? Do they, do they like puzzles? If they're going through chemotherapy, a lot of times when you are in the treatment room, you're there for hours. I mean, my first treatment was over 8 hours long. I had food delivered. Jimmy John's delivered. It was the
Yep.
funniest thing in the world. And and this was pre-COVID. And so now, of course, all that stuff is just, run of the mill. But think of things that they could do while they're sitting there. So puzzle games, their attention span might be pretty short.
Yeah.
So War and Peace might not be what you want to give them, but People
Yeah.
Magazine might work, right? um
Yeah.
and so just little things like that, where they so you might put together a care kit for them, in a tote bag, where it's got water, snacks, all sorts of things like that, that they can just go and be there with. Again, offer what might sound good to them. And now they might also, one of the things might say, you've been in the house for quite a long time, do you want to go for a drive?
Yeah.
you know and just simple things like that, that sound like they're really pretty easy, or that nobody would care. I tell you what, when I could not go out and about during COVID, I survived for about 2 weeks, and then I was stir crazy. And and so my husband would take me out, and we would go for what we called our Miss Daisy drives, right?
Sure.
And
Sure.
never left the car, and we saw parts of Georgia that we had never seen before. And sometimes we were gone for a half hour, sometimes we were gone for hours. So it was
Yeah.
just, getting out and about. But I think a lot of times, anytime we are ill, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's cancer or any type of disease, it's very lonely. And
Right.
and a lot of what we do, obviously, we have to do completely alone. So anything where you could offer to be there for them is good. Now, keep in mind that they might tire easily. If you're squeamish and they're at that stage where they might upchuck on your shoes, that might be something that you want to think about.
Yep.
um and so, but just be there. But it's really important, don't overstay your welcome. It's I had people who, bless their little hearts, came and stayed for hours. And I was like, I just, I love y'all, but I gotta, you gotta go home.
Yeah. 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 And I think, to cover, like the emotional aspect and the
Mhm,
spiritual
mhm.
aspect of,
Right.
you know, s- just sitting with them
Mhm.
quietly even,
Yes.
and holding
Mhm.
their hand, or
Right.
polishing
Mhm,
their fingernails, or
mhm,
putting lotion on
mhm.
them, just that
Right.
someone touch,
Mhm,
and depending on like how sick someone is, like
mhm.
I was in a major accident. I was hit by a school bus as a
Oh
pedestrian.
my.
So I
Mhm,
couldn't like physically get out
mhm.
very easily because I
Right.
was all like broken inside
Mhm,
and
mhm.
face. And so you don't want to go out because you look like a freak.
Right. You
All
don't
like
want little kids screaming and running the opposite direction.
correct.
Mhm,
And so like just having someone sit with me
mhm.
outside just so that I could get some
Right.
fresh air,
Mhm,
or pushing me around in a wheelchair
mhm,
so I could get around, at least get some fresh air. But
mhm,
from a spiritual perspective too, just someone to sit and read scripture, like
mhm.
to me that's
Right.
important.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
a Christian. So for
Right.
me, it was
Mm-hmm.
important. So someone to read the
Mm-hmm.
Bible or tell me, their faith walk,
Right.
or,
Mm-hmm.
listen to church
Mm-hmm.
online. All of those things
Mm-hmm.
can be really helpful, and they
Right.
don't
And of
cost
course, music does wonders. So
you.
listening to gospel music, oh,
Yep,
that's wonderful. Mm-hmm.
yep. And one of my friends pointed me in the direction of a really calm, peaceful app that
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't really do apps
Mm-hmm.
until then. Now I
Right.
had like a year, I was laid up for a year, so I had like
Oh.
plenty of time on my hands. So
Mm-hmm.
so like they would introduce me to different apps that they had
Mm-hmm.
found, and do some trial and error with that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. But you know just finding out what makes that person
Right.
tick,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to know that person because
Mm-hmm.
there's a new version of that
Mm-hmm.
person.
Right. I tell them it's normal. It's our new
Yes.
normal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, agree. You seem like you're doing really, really well.
I am.
How do you help people? Like what is your role?
Well, we actually did start an initiative, and I was pushed in that direction very lovingly, but firmly by a friend of mine. And so we started, it's called trying not to die.live, and that actually is the website. So www.tryingnottoDie.live.
Okay.
And we help those who are on any part of their journey with cancer. And we call them warriors because I saw something very early on when I was diagnosed that said, fate says to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. And the warrior responds, I am the storm. But part of our concept is also that, the trying not to die part is we get so consumed with trying to not die that we forget that we have to live. But the really important thing is that you have to, as a warrior, you have to build your tribe. And you have all of those around you, whether it's your medical people, your family, your friends, your coworkers, all of those people. It is so important to build your tribe of people who are going to support you. And so that's what we help people do. And we help them with the, oh my gosh, my mom was just diagnosed, my friend was diagnosed, what do I do? I was just diagnosed, what do I do? And I tell them, of course, the worst thing you can do is go to Dr. Google, right?
Uh,
Because you're just going to get overwhelmed. And one of the things that many people need, especially at the very first of their journey, is somebody to go with them to those initial doctor's appointments. I tell people, when we go to the doctor when we've got, say, the flu, we go home and we go, when was I supposed to take that medicine? And when we have something as serious as cancer, our brain has shut off. And
right.
so we need somebody else who can go in with us and ask the questions, so let them know ahead of time, here are things that I want to make sure the doctor covers. Yeah, they might have their own questions that, that they have thought of, things like that, but offer to do that with them. It's thank heavens COVID is, over to the point where we can accompany people again. But
Yeah.
it is just something where, yeah, whatever you can do to help them is good. And as the patient, again, it's very important to make our needs known. With what you do, it's so important that we as the patient need to have done everything from a legal perspective that we
Yep.
need to do. Nobody ever thought that I was going to end up in ICU and like two shakes away from dying. But I had my will, I had my medical power of attorney, I had all of that in order before I ever went in. And I think that's just good for anybody. It doesn't, those who are incredibly healthy, we still need to have done all of that and let people know about what your wants and needs are, especially with prolonging life, all of those various things. Make sure that people know that those are your wishes.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because we do, what part of what we do with Care
Mm-hmm.
Right is the grab and
Right.
go by,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
is that it's a plug
Yes,
and
I saw that. Mm-hmm. Right.
this is mine.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have your insurance
Right.
policies, and
Mm-hmm.
who's your financial planner, and
Right.
who's
What
your
are all the medications you take?
account passwords,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a multi-business owner,
Mm-hmm.
and so like who my business succession
Right.
plan,
Mm-hmm.
who I use to process
Mm-hmm.
payroll, all of this stuff. We can't live in denial.
Right.
It has its own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
People get in car accidents,
Mm-hmm.
people get
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with all sorts of things. We can't be in denial. We need to
Right.
be prepared for the what
Mm-hmm.
whens of life.
Right.
And
Right.
not leave our families vulnerable.
And especially if you have children, you need to have taken care of that. And even pets. I mean, like our will, for my husband and I, we have our pets taken care of in our wills, and so it's just like I said, no matter where you are at what stage of life, that is just something that you need to do. And update it as needed. Your kids don't stay 6 years old forever. And so you might not need to say, they get to go to live with grandma. But make sure and make sure people know where those things are. Right. That's the other thing is you've got that great notebook, but if nobody knows where your notebook is and what it's for, it doesn't do anything.
And that's why we take it to that next step is like, let's get all the documents in order. Cause for CareRight, my client is the whole family and everybody needs to have a grab and go binder.
Wonderful.
And that way we're opening up the doors of conversation to say, this is what I have in place. I've named you as the power of attorney. Here's what my wishes are. I've named you as the financial power of attorney. Here's my accounts, passwords, my bank, my financial planner. We need to start normalizing those conversations so it doesn't feel so scary.
Yeah. And we should not be uncomfortable having those discussions.
Right. In the next, we have about 1 minute left. So how is a good way for people to connect with you? Is it just through the website or?
It is. And so I definitely want to make sure that I get in here. Thank you so much. This has been such a delight. But yeah, go to tryingnottoDie.live. There's ways on there that people can reach out to me. We do have a private Facebook group, and I encourage people to join that. It's private to keep out the people that are going to cure us. I had several people. We have this protein drink that will cure you, and I'm like, thank you, but no. And so you can find everything you need on tryingnottoDie.live.
TryingnottoDie.live. So I love that. I love your story. I love your energy. You've really kicked cancer in that you're not letting it consume you. It sounds like. So yep.
And I have my bad days, but they're gone pretty quick.
Of course. Yeah. The energy that it takes to stay positive through that journey, I'm sure is pretty massive. But wow, you're a good example of how to.
For people who are like me and are these patients, please remember to thank your caregivers, because they're the ones that are doing so much, and some of it we take for granted. And just saying, hey, you know what? Thank you. It's going to go a long way.
You're absolutely right. Oh my gosh, Deb, it has been such a delight getting to know you.
We do this forever, right?
I know. That's why I was like, oh my gosh, the time has gone so fast. But it's just been such a delight to get to know you and hear your story, and just you're turning something that has changed your life, and you're making it a better possibility for other people that are in that same journey through your work that you're doing through tryingnottoDie.live.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you are doing also.
Of course. So we'll see you on the flip side, because it sounds like we'll be connecting again here in a little bit. So, but thank you again for your time and for sharing your story.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you for tuning into the CareRight podcast. We hope today's discussion has provided you with valuable insights. If so, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our podcast with others who might find it helpful. Remember, CareRight is more than just a podcast. It's a community dedicated to supporting family caregivers with comprehensive care planning, crisis management, and resources for every stage of aging. Stay connected with us for future episodes as we continue to explore essential topics in aging planning, elder care, and financial planning. Until next time, take care, plan wisely, and remember, you're not alone in your caregiving journey.